Any of you have any questions? Yes, Swamiji. Yes.
My question is, we're being told that I don't need the microphone, due to all in order to get the benefits that we're looking for, we need to follow up all the karma work and so on. My question is, do the yogis give any solution for our times where most of us
Not able to do those karmas.
we cannot do it, we're not born in that society, we don't have these habits? Is there
Yeah. That is why I expected a question from you. This I mentioned even when I did the original text before I entered into the Bhashyam. See, we do not perform exactly the same rituals, but we do have substitutes now. What you are doing every day, singing, chanting, etc., the karma only. As long as mind is there, we do have substitute now. And apart from that, and then the dharma, of course, is universal, isn't always relevant. And we following dharma, we are conscious of values, and of course, the present day prayers and worship, what we practice now, like Puranic meditation, what we practice now, they're all substitutes for what has been prescribed here. And what we are practicing now, they are all based on the same Vedic teaching only. Which means the forms are different, the spirit behind the forms is the same. Therefore, we are not missing anything now. And Pujya Swamiji himself has written, even Adishankara Bhagavad Pada has just only mentioned very few things that you can see the commentaries, not much of the exhaustive Bhashyam is not there. Which means the practical instructions are missing, which Swamiji himself says that they have become extinct. And this, it's only for us to have an idea. At least now the concept of meditation has become clear, isn't it? Whether we are practicing the same meditation or not, you clearly see the meditation, what meditation is and what meditation is for, what is the limitation of it, what it can do, what it cannot do. It's very clear, isn't it? That's all. A lot of things not practiced even in India. Even in India, in fact, temple worship, the Murti worship, it all completely, the form of worship itself is different from the form of worship of the Vedic period. See, even today, we do have in India also the performance of rituals. We do have. Yajna, Homaha is there. And Murti worship also is there. Even the forms of worship are different, the spirit behind the form of worship is the same. Therefore, we are not missing anything. But nice to understand, even to validate what we are doing now, it is important for us to understand. One great thing what Swamiji's teaching is always it is very beautiful, nice to be able to validate what's happening in the light of the teaching. Yesterday, Pranav asked me an important question. What did you ask, Pranav? Now, outside, he asked me outside.
Whether punya will eradicate papa, just mitify
The same thing, I think this was in a context, I mentioned it earlier. The Puru Pakshis, Karmakandi's question also was the same. Not the question, actually, his argument was that if we perform the right actions, now, the Kamya Karmas are all right actions, we only earn right actions. When we do the Nityamitika Karmas, then we earn Punyam, that Punyam can eradicate the old Papam. Really speaking, the Punyam can neutralize the old Papam. you cannot completely eradicate. Neutralizing in the sense, the more punyam I do consciously now, it has the effect of the punyam, so the papam becomes less, then the mind will be in good humor. The mental, the mind is kept in good condition. The papam will always be pricking. Any papa karma you do, the more papams you do, the more we are split. The personalities will be split, more disturbed we will be. So the more consciously, prayerfully, when you do only punya karma, right actions, then naturally it will contribute for mental tranquility, and which is very good for condition for the study of the Shastram to be effective, so that knowledge will take place easily. The mind, we take care of the mental condition by doing the punya karma, right actions. So mental condition is maintained, means good condition of the mind is maintained, then it is what is already there will become revealed to us. The beauty is there's never, not even a fraction of a second, Bhagavan is away from you. Bhagavan in terms of truth is always there as your own Swarupam. But revelation is not there. Because one thing, attention is not available for that. Second thing, we do not know what it is, how it is. And again, mind also is not in a condition, mental condition is not such that it is not able to see that. So the more and more we live a disciplined, clean life, the mind becomes tranquil enough that where revelation is possible. Okay, start. Om Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Vyasa Shankara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Yaschandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyodhyamritaat Sambabhova Samendro Medhaya Asprunoti Amrutasya Devadharano Bhuyasam Shariram Me Vicharshanam Jihva Me Madhumattama Karnabhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmanah Koshosi Medhaya Pihitaha Shrutam Me Gopaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Aham Vrakshasya Reriva Kirti Prashtang Gireriva Urdhvapavitro Vajiniva Swamrutamasmi Dravinagum Savarchasam Sumedha Amrutokshitaha Iti Trishankor Vedanavachanam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Dakshinamurti Swarupaya Dayananda Rupaya Karmagami Karmatmani. Okay. So we are seeing the Panchamaha Anuvakaha, the fifth section, where Vyahrityatmaka Hiranya Garbha Upasanam, otherwise said to be Vyahrityatmaka Saguna Brahmopasanam, is discussed. We understood how Hiranya Garbha is invoked. Hiranya Garbha, who alone is in the form of the Lokas, Devas, Vedas and Pranas, are invoked upon these four Vyahritis. Mainly, the word, the Mahaha Vyahritihi is symbol of Hiranya Garbha, and all other limbs, other Vyahritis are taken as the limbs of Hiranyagarbha, which are also pervaded by Hiranyagarbha. And we concluded that the last one, the Upanishad also, we have to remember this Vyahrityatmaka Hiranyagarbhopasanam, the meditation upon Hiranyagarbha in the form of worlds, devatas, etc., upon these Vyahritis, seen upon Vyahritis, is not complete by itself. It has to be followed by the actual Hiranyagarbha Upasanam prescribed in the 6th section. When these two Upasanas combine together alone, it will be complete Upasanam. This is the Anga. This whole Upasanam, this Vyahrit Upasanam is like an Anga, and the Hiranyagarbha Upasanam, which is going to be discussed in the 6th chapter, is like an Angi. Together form one Upasanam. Is it clear? We are going to see that. But here, having discussed the Upasanam, towards the end, the mantra, Upanishad itself presents the benefit of practicing this Upasanam. Just only one line is mentioned there. You would have seen that. the last concluding sentence of the text. Tayo Veda Saveda Brahma Sarve Esmai Deva Balima Vahanti. The concluding statement of the original text and the fifth Anuvaka is actually Palashrutihi. Palashrutihi means a statement which reveals the benefit of practicing this meditation. So, Taha Yaha Veda. Taha means those Vyahritis. Yaha Veda, the one who knows. Yaha is relative pronoun. He who, the one who knows these Vyahritis, that person knows Brahman. Is it clear? This is the meaning of the sentence. And I wanted to remember this important thing. The word Vedanam, Jnanam, Vidya. The word Vedanam, Jnanam, Vidya. All these three words have two different meanings. The word Vedanam means knowing. Vidya means knowledge and knowing. Knowledge. And Jnanam means knowledge and knowing. Is it clear? Vedanam, Jnanam, Vidya. Vedanam means knowing. Jnanam means knowing and knowledge. And Vidya also means knowledge. These three words are also used in the sense of meditation. So, Vedanam means knowing as well as meditating. Jnanam means knowing, knowledge as well as meditation. Vidya also means knowing, knowledge and meditation. Actual meaning of these words is knowledge only. Actual meaning of these three words is what? Knowledge, knowing. But why these three words are also used in the sense of meditation? The words which mean knowledge or knowing are also used in the sense of meditation, meditating. Why? Because any meditation practiced is ultimately supposed to contribute for mental preparation in terms of mental steadiness required for the attainment of knowledge. Is it clear? Therefore, the word the meditation also, so the word Jnanam, Vidya is also used in the sense of Upasanam, meditation. Even though the actual meaning is knowledge, knowing, but these words are also in a given context. In some contexts, these words are also used in the sense of meditation. Is it clear? Now, that is why in the sentence, Tayo Veda, Veda means the third person present tense verb, knows, K-N-O-W-S, knows. Taha Vyahritihi Yaha Veda. The person who knows, whoever knows, the one who knows these Vyahritis, knows Brahma. This is the literal translation of the sentence. Is it clear? Have you found where the sentence is? The concluding sentence of the fifth section. Last sentence. Because in your book there's no transliteration, so you cannot find them unless you read Sanskritam. In page number 160, the last sentence is there. The concluding sentence of the Anuvakaha, fifth section. It says, Tayo Veda Saveda Brahma Sarve esmai deva balima vahanti. There's no translation of that sentence. So, but transliteration of that sentence. There's only translation. Therefore, there what does it mean? Actual meaning is what? The person who knows these four Vyakritis knows Brahman, knows Hiranyagarbha. But how should we take it actually? The person who meditates upon them knows Hiranyagarbha. Is it clear? You can see the translation, or you can see. One who meditates upon them means what? Upon those Vyakritis, knows Hiranyagarbha in the form of Omkaraha. And for such a person, all deities carry oblations to him, offerings to him. Have you found the translation at least? Okay. Now, why I am repeating this? Now, in the Shankara's commentary, we are going to see the doubt based on that sentence. Is it clear? Okay. Now, let us come back to the Bhashyam portion where we left. See, people who, any of you who really finds it difficult to follow anything here, any specific doubts are there, I'm available. When you have free time, please come to me and I can clarify you also. I mean, I can do a little more basic classes, I can help you with that. Okay? You're most welcome. So, the fifth section ends. How does Upanishad conclude the fifth section? Having stated, the one who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha invokes Hiranyagarbha in the form of worlds, devatas, Vedas and pranas upon these Vyakritis, okay, practices this group meditation sequentially as mentioned in as stipulated here, following this order. That person, as a result of that meditation, he will attain Hiranyagarbha status. Knowing Hiranyagarbha means what? Attaining Hiranyagarbha status. How can one attain Hiranyagarbha status? The details are not given in the Upanishad. It's understood from the commentary. This person will travel to in a given subtle form, not with this physical body will fall apart here. In a subtle form, this person will travel through Shukla Gatihi and he will reach Brahma Loka, and there he will remain one with Hiranyagarbha. Then in due course of time, and it's possible for him to attain Krama Muktihi. Okay, this is what is meant by the attainment of Swarajyam, attainment of sovereignty, Swarajyam, which are not mentioned here, which we are going to see in the next section. Is it clear? But not very elaborately discussed. Why? Because this section has to be followed by the next section also. And these two upasanas have to be combined in order to enjoy the benefit of Vyakrit Upasanam, practicing Vyakrit Upasanam. Vyakrit Upasanam practiced independently without practicing the Hiranyagarbha Upasanam will not be effective. That is what is said here. In fact, we cannot even take them as two different upasanams. They both should be taken as one upasanam only. How? Because the sixth section is presenting the glories of Hiranyagarbha, the nature of Hiranyagarbha, how Hiranyagarbha is available, where is that Hiranyagarbha available, etc., is discussed in the sixth section. So, based on that, here a question is coming. Look at this. The person who meditates upon these Vyahritis knows Brahman, knows Hiranyagarbha, which means he attains Hiranyagarbha. He attains Brahma means what? What is that Brahma? The question comes. Kim tad Brahma? Tad Brahma sa Atma, that Hiranyagarbha who pervades the entire subtle manifestation, subtle universe, is Hiranyagarbha. One knows that Hiranyagarbha. This is the expression. So, what is the doubt now? The objection comes. I'm going to read the objection. In page number 173, last paragraph, presents a small doubt. Small, not big objection, a small doubt is coming. Nanu, when this nanu comes means what? Always doubt. Okay? An objection. Nanu, tad Brahma sa Atma, tad Brahma sa Atma, that Brahman, the one who practices meditation upon these Vyahritis, knows Brahman means that Brahman known is all-pervasive Hiranyagarbha. All-pervasive Hiranyagarbha iti jnate Brahmani na vaktavyam avijnatavat saveda Brahma iti. What is the objection? Let me make it very clear. See, listen to me carefully. When a person practices meditation upon Vyahritis, okay, he invokes Hiranyagarbha in the form of all these factors, lokas, Vedas, etc. upon these Vyahritis. He already knows Hiranyagarbha or not? Very interesting question. Listen to me. Can you ever meditate upon something unknown? If I ask you, come on, all of you sit straight, meditate upon green apple. You can meditate. Why? You know what is green apple is. May all of you meditate upon sappadilla. Still you can meditate because you know what it is. At least because of me, you know. May all meditate upon the sweetness of sappadilla. If you have not tasted it, you cannot. Oh, the fruit form I know. Now you're asking us to meditate upon the sweetness of it, the taste of it. We have not tasted it. How can we meditate upon the sweetness? Is it clear? It's clear now. What does it mean? Meditation is possible. Meditation is always of something which is known to you. Puja Swamiji used, I remember, just remember him, I just say this. He'll say, Gagabugai. Come on, all of meditate upon Gagabugai. Just remember him, I just say this. It's his expression. You'll all ask me, are you mad? What is Gagabugai? How can you meditate upon Gagabugai? What does it mean? Swamiji used to give this example. Just to say, you can always meditate upon things which you know. You can meditate on something which you do not know. Is it clear? Very important, meditation. Meditate upon this means what? Focus your attention on this. May you draw your meditation itself means what? Withdrawing attention from everywhere else, from everything else, and focusing all attention upon one given thing for a length of time is meditation. Isn't it? But if I ask you to focus attention on one thing, that one thing, what I'm saying, Gagabugai, you do know, such a thing doesn't exist. Isn't it? How can you meditate upon that? Even people have some idea of corona. All different colors, pictures, and then they send all green color, blue color, and red color, and there's all sorts of from microbiology labs, water pictures people are getting, all of them been sending. Even we can meditate upon that corona. Why? There's some idea we have how it looks and all that, isn't it? People send all frightening forms of corona. Some Got it now? What I want to say, you can never meditate upon something which you do not know. So when this Vyahrutyatmaka Hiranya Brahma Upasanam has been prescribed, what does it mean? The meditator already must know Hiranya Garbha. Very thoughtful question, I noticed. And Hiranyagarbha, how much does he know? Everything is Hiranyagarbha. So difficult to comprehend Hiranyagarbha totally. Therefore, he separates. Okay, Hiranyagarbha alone is in the form of lokas. This much knowledge of Hiranyagarbha we have. The Upasakaha, the meditator, is supposed to have at least this much knowledge of Hiranyagarbha. All the worlds are Hiranyagarbha. The meditation upon Hiranyagarbha in the form of worlds, upon these 4 Vyahritis. Again, Hiranyagarbha alone is in the form, I'm saying something very important, please listen to me. Hiranyagarbha alone is in the form of Devatas. For meditation upon, we are invoking Hiranyagarbha in the form of these Devatas upon these 4 Vyahritis. So Hiranyagarbha alone is in the form of knowledge, the Vedas. So we meditate upon Hiranyagarbha, upon these, invoke Hiranyagarbha in the form of Vedas, upon these Vyahritis. Similarly, Hiranyagarbha alone is in the form of pranas. Therefore, we invoke Hiranyagarbha in the form of pranas upon these 4 Vyahritis. Is it clear? Which means the Upasakaha already has the knowledge of Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, he is meditating upon these Vyahritis. The person who knows these Vyahritis, who is capable of meditating upon this Hiranyagarbha in these forms upon these Vyahritis, already knows. Isn't it? Then, already knows. Then why does Upanishad again says, one who meditates upon this Hiranyagarbha, practices meditation upon these Vyahritis, knows Brahman. Why Upanishad repeats this? Got the question now? This is the objection. The meditator already knowing Hiranyagarbha in the form of these lokas, Vedas, etc., practices meditation. Then why does Upanishad again repeat already known Hiranyagarbha? Why is he said to be again known? Isn't it unnecessary? As though Hiranyagarbha is unknown. Avijñātavat, as though Hiranyagarbha is unknown, he knows Brahman, he knows Hiranyagarbha. Upanishad states this. Have you got the point now? The person who meditates already knows Hiranyagarbha. That is why he is able to meditate. And if the one who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha knows Hiranyagarbha means what? Why Upanishad is repeating? As though unknown to him. Before meditating also, the very fact he is able to meditate upon Hiranyagarbha because he knows Hiranyagarbha. Again he knows, as a result of meditation, he knows Hiranyagarbha means what? Why there is repetition? Is it clear? As though already unknown. Nice question. So that is what is said here. Nanu tad brahmasa atma iti jnate brahmani. The Hiranyagarbha who is already known, alone is meditated upon. Na vaktavyam. Again it need not be mentioned. Upanishad need not mention. Again the word Saha Brahma Veda. That expression, he knows Brahman. That expression need not be said. Should not be said. As though Hiranyagarbha is unknown. This is the objection. Have you understood the objection now? Okay. Now Shankaracharya's answer comes. Repetition, that he knows, by saying that he knows Brahman, the person who meditates, invokes Hiranyagarbha upon these Vyahritis, knows Hiranyagarbha. That expression is not wrong. It is correct. It is not repeated. Repetition is not wrong. So he says, na. No, it is not wrong. What is not wrong? Na means not. Not means what? He knows Brahman. The person who invokes Hiranyagarbha upon these Vyahritis knows Brahman. That expression is not wrong. Why? Because already known. Brahman is, Hiranyagarbha is already known as an object of meditation. Why should it be repeated saying he knows again? As though Hiranyagarbha is unknown. Not unknown. Why it is repeated? So he says, it is not wrong. Why? Because his knowledge of Hiranyagarbha, of course, he practices meditation upon Hiranyagarbha because he knows Hiranyagarbha. I'm very happy today. You know why? This time, I'm making it very clear for you. Whenever, is it clear? He knows. I'm very happy. Always happy. So, this meditator knows Hiranyagarbha. Of course, his understanding of Hiranyagarbha. That is why he is able to meditate upon Hiranyagarbha. How much he knows Hiranyagarbha? He has some understanding of Hiranyagarbha. He is not totally ignorant of Hiranyagarbha. Definitely he has this knowledge. Is Hiranyagarbha as a total subtle manifestation pervades the all individual subtle aspects. It all pervades. Just as ocean pervades the wave. Every wave is pervaded by the total ocean. What does it mean? Wave cannot pervade the ocean, but ocean pervades the wave. Is it clear? Samashtihi can pervade the Vyashtihi. Similarly, Hiranyagarbha happens to be the total. He is all pervasive. So, relatively, Hiranyagarbha is Atma at the subtle level. That is understood. That understanding he has. He definitely sees all the worlds here survive because of the blessing of Hiranyagarbha in the form of solar energy. All the Devatas shine because of Hiranyagarbha in the form of moon. All the Vedas are glorious because of the essence of Veda in the form of Omkara is another Hiranyagarbha. Similarly, even all the pranas of all the individual beings are survive. The life itself is because of the Hiranyagarbha. This much fact a meditator knows. Therefore, he is capable of meditating upon Hiranyagarbha. He is able to invoke Hiranyagarbha upon these Vyakritis. But his knowledge of Hiranyagarbha is limited. It is not complete knowledge. Is it clear? He is not totally ignorant of Hiranyagarbha. At the same time, he has some knowledge of Hiranyagarbha. Some quite a good understanding of Hiranyagarbha he has. That is why he is capable of meditating. At the same time, still his knowledge of Hiranyagarbha is not complete. So he needs further more knowledge. He needs further more knowledge. He can meditate upon Hiranyagarbha with this enough adequate knowledge also. At the same time, If he knows more about Hiranyagarbha, then with more knowledge, better knowledge, with a complete knowledge of Hiranyagarbha, his meditation will be absolutely effective. Okay? Therefore, in fact, Upanishad is going to, where is Hiranyagarbha available for appreciation? That is not mentioned in the 5th section. And how other glories of Hiranyagarbha is not mentioned here. The 6th section, where Hiranyagarbha's glories, attributes, place of availability for recognition, etc., are mentioned in the 6th section. Therefore, in nothing wrong in saying the person who meditates upon these Hiranyagarbha, invokes Hiranyagarbha upon these Vyakritis, knows Hiranyagarbha, means it is not wrong. A person who has little understanding, some understanding, will have better understanding and complete understanding of Hiranyagarbha. Is it clear? Okay. That's what Shankara Bhagavad gives as an answer. You must know what is the objection raised here, or what is the question, okay, argument presented, and what is his answer. I told you the answer. I'm going to read out from the Sanskritam here, the Bhashyam. Na, no, it is not wrong. Tad Visesha Vivakshutvat Adoshaha. Adoshaha, he says, Adoshaha means it is not an error. It is not wrong. It is not a defect. Repeating saying that already known Hiranyagarbha, the meditator knows the Hiranyagarbha who is already known. If it is said, it is not a defect, it is not wrong. Why? Because Shastram has Vivakshutvam. Vivakshutvam means Shastram has an intention. Shastram has an intention of saying something more about Hiranyagarbha. Where? In the next section, he says, Satyam Vijñātam. Satyam Vijñātam. What does it mean? Yes, Purupakshin, you are correct. No, it's true. What you say is true. Yes, already Hiranyagarbha, who is already known alone, is meditated upon. Nothing wrong. Vijñātam, already known. Chaturtha Vyahrityatma Brahma iti. Yes, the one who is meditated upon the 4th Vyahritihi Mahaha is none other than Hiranyagarbha, all-pervasive Hiranyagarbha. Okay, that fact is already known to the meditator, definitely. Natu tad Viseshaha. But what is, that is true, but still that is not complete knowledge of Hiranyagarbha. Why? Hridaya Antar Upalabhyatvam. Hiranyagarbha's availability for recognition in the physical heart, in the space of physical heart, and Hiranyagarbha available in the form of the knowledge, manifestation of knowledge, and Hiranyagarbha being the total peace, and Hiranyagarbha being described as the Shanti Samruddham, Shanti Samruddham, etc. Hiranyagarbha is described as the total peace, etc. Such descriptions of Hiranyagarbha are not here in the 5th section, and they are discussed in the next section, which means Shastram has an intention of revealing more about Hiranyagarbha in the following section. Therefore, it is nothing wrong in saying the person knows Hiranyagarbha who is already known. Is it clear? Okay. Ityevam antaha विशेषण विशेष रूपः धर्म पूगः विज्ञायते. Dharma pugaha means a collective virtues, collection of virtues, a group of virtues is called dharma pugaha. See, Upanishad is going to discuss collectively some virtues in the next section of Hiranyagarbha. Is it clear? So the meditator can know more about Hiranyagarbha in the following section. Visheshana Vishesha Rupaha means in the form of adjectives. More glories, more collective virtues, a group of virtues of Hiranyagarbha are presented in the form of adjectives in the next section, which can be known further. The meditator who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha, knowing Hiranyagarbha, can still know much more about Hiranyagarbha in the following section in terms of many collective virtues of Hiranyagarbha, okay, which are presented as in the form of adjectives describing Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, as though Hiranyagarbha is unknown, Upanishad also is presenting, saying that person who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha knows Hiranyagarbha. So nothing, ataha na doshaha, it is not wrong. See, we must be very careful to catch, to make even such a mistake, isn't it? Have you ever thought about it? You have to meditate means you must know the object of meditation. If you are meditating upon Hiranyagarbha means already know Hiranyagarbha. Again, why does Upanishad say the person who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha knows Hiranyagarbha? Why is repetition here? So, that is not wrong. He knows now, his knowledge of Hiranyagarbha is very limited, which means he's going to know more about Hiranyagarbha in the following section. That is why, in fact, this is both the sections should be combined, understood together. In fact, both sections together alone understood. Then one has to practice meditation. Vyahrityupasanam also will be complete, effective only if a person has the understanding of Hiranyagarbha described in the following section. Is it clear? Therefore, it is not wrong. Just Upanishad introduced the Vyahritis, 4 Vyahritis. Then Upanishad said, in what all forms Hiranyagarbha can be invoked. How Hiranyagarbha in all these fourfold factors, fourfold factors can be invoked upon Vyahritis. That alone Upanishad has said. Which means still Hiranyagarbha has to be understood. Who is that Hiranyagarbha who alone is in the form of these worlds, Vedas, etc., who is to be invoked upon these Vyahritis? Isn't it? That is, he is going to say in the following section only. Therefore, it is nothing wrong. That doubt has been clarified. So, he continues. Yaha hi vakshamanena dharma pugena visishtam brahma veda saha veda brahma iti abhiprayah. So, Shankara Bhagavad makes it very clear. When the Upanishad says, the person who invokes Hiranyagarbha upon these Vyahritis in the form of these fourfold factors, knowing the Hiranyagarbha's virtues described in the next section. Understand? That person accomplishes this Swarajyam. He will attain, he will become one with Hiranyagarbha. That is what is the aim of Upanishad. That is what Upanishad wants to present here. Ataha vakshamana anuvakena ekavakyata asya. It's very important. Ekavakyata. Ekavakyata means the Vyahrit Upasanam discussed in the 5th section and the Antargati Upasanam discussed in the 6th section. They together form one Upasanam, means the both Upasanams, the object of meditation is one and the same Hiranyagarbha. It's a one Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. You should take it as one Upasanam because object of meditation is same Hiranyagarbha. Only when they're combined together, practiced together, then one can enjoy the benefit. One practiced independently without the other will not be effective, will not be considered as an effective meditation. I think you understood what I'm saying. Ubhayoho hi anuvakayoho ekam upasanam. Got it? Ubhayoho hi anuvakayoho ekam upasanam. Only one meditation upon Hiranyagarbha is prescribed in both these sections. Which means we need to have complete understanding of the contents of the 5th section and the 6th section. Thereby the meditation is of now. There's only one meditation. Ekam upasanam. Is it clear? Ekam upasanam, one meditation. Because the only object of meditation is Hiranyagarbha. Both combined together alone becomes one Hiranyagarbha upasanam. See, it is like sometimes the children are doing homework. And suppose when the child finishes half of her homework, her or his homework, and mother gives one chocolate. And she'll show the box of chocolates. Okay, I'm going to give you this later on when you complete all the homework. Is it clear? She hasn't given. So already mother has given the chocolate. Why should she show the other box? Is a question. Understand? It's like this. What he says, Upanishad also, as soon as Upanishad prescribed Vyahriti Upasanam, without even talking about the Hiranyagarbha fully, Upanishad mentions this. The person who practices this meditation will know Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, the doubt has come. Now, Shankaracharya clarifies the doubt. Don't worry. The meditator needs to know, needs to have a complete understanding of Hiranyagarbha. His understanding of Hiranyagarbha is very limited in this section. When he knows completely Hiranyagarbha in the following section, then he is qualified to practice meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. Is it clear? When he practices this meditation, definitely he will enjoy the benefit. That benefit is already mentioned in the 5th section itself. Before even completing the description of Hiranyagarbha, who has to be meditated upon, Upanishad already mentions at the end of the 5th section the benefit of meditation. Why? To sustain his interest. Is it clear? Why? What will happen otherwise? Oh my God, he will be wondering. Simply, sometimes it has to be exactly like a mother gives a child one chocolate, and shows this box of chocolates. When you complete, I'll give you more. Similarly, these are all the meditations. If you practice meditation upon Hiranyagarbha, you will get this benefit. of knowing Hiranyagarbha, which means it's still not yet complete. So, even the two sections are, the meditations are discussed in two different sections. They have one object of meditation known as Hiranyagarbha, and they together combined alone becomes one meditation. Only then one can really have the benefit of practicing this meditation. I think I have clarified very well. Have I? If you have any doubt, please ask me, because I want some changes in the face. Okay? Now homework, page number 175, 176, 177, homework. Everything is in English, you can read easily. Now Shankaracharya gives one more reason. Lingat cha. Lingat cha means due to the clue we get from the 6th section. Now you understand why we should do the Moola Grantha before the Bhashyam study. Shankaracharya mentions, because of the clue we get from the 6th section also, it is very clear that both these meditations, the subject contents of both the sections must be combined together as content of the practice of one meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. What is the clue given? He quotes the lines from 6th section. If you have not done the original text, how do you know that now Bhashyam? He says, Bhorityagno pratitishthati bhuvaiti va. No, you have one who practices this meditation, Hiranyagarbha Upasanam, finally he will go to Brahmaloka, and there this person will, he will resolve. He'll resolve his identity with Agni, Vayu, etc. And all these Vyahrutis discussed in the 5th section are again mentioned in the 6th section. Vyahritis, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, etc. The Vyahritis which are mentioned in the 5th section are also again mentioned in the 6th section also. That is also another clue for us to understand that these two should be combined as one meditation. Yeah, linga means clue. See, the word linga here means clue. Lingat cha means due to the clue we get also from the 6th section, it is very clear the contents of both sections must be combined to practice meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. That is, the Vyahritis are also again mentioned in the 6th section.
Did I understand correctly that which was Angi in the 5th Anubhava, that which was Angi in the 5th Anubhava becomes Angani in the 6th Anubhava?
No. See, there separately, Angi and Angani in the 5th section. But now, the whole 5th section is like Anga, and the 6th section becomes Angi. Again, second time we have to take differently. So, Bhurityagno pratitishthati ityadikam lingam upasana ekatve. See, in both the sections, if you are reading, I can't tell you. In both the sections, the meditation prescribed is only one meditation. That is also clarified, confirmed by the clue we get from the mention of Vyahritis, the 6th section. Vidhayaka abhavat cha. Vidhayaka abhava means, see, vidayaka abhavat cha. Please note, make a note again. Vidayaka abhava means absence of vidhi. What is vidhi? See, there must be a statement. See, may one perform ritual is called statement of vidhi. May one practice meditation, it's a statement of vidhi. Okay, the statement, the commandment. May one should perform a ritual is what? May one perform a ritual. It's called statement of commandment, is called vidhi, vidhi vakyam. Just as in the Karma Kanda areas, we have this expression, may one perform a ritual. Similarly, in the area of Upasana meditation also, we have such expressions, may one practice meditation. That vidhi vakyam is not there in the 5th section. There's only the person who practices this meditation knows Hiranyagarbha, it is said. But one should practice meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. That vidhi vakyam is not there in the 5th section. Whereas in the 6th section, there is a statement, vidhi vakyam. What is vidhi vakyam? Iti prachina yogyopa asva. Hey prachina yogya upasva. May you meditate. Is it clear? Upasva. May you meditate. That statement of vidhi, statement of commandment, may you meditate, may you practice this meditation. The statement of commandment is not there in the 5th section, it's there only in the 6th section. That is another clue for us to understand. Okay, there's only one meditation prescribed, okay, in both the sections together. 2 different sections, lot of information is given, but actually they're all to be understood to practice one Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. Even though there seem to be 2 Upasanams, also the object of meditation happens to be one Hiranyagarbha. When both are combined alone, they become one complete meditation which will be effective. So Shankaracharya says, Nahi Veda Upasita iti va vidhayakaha kaschit shabdaha asti. Which means there is no expression such as may you do, may one meditate, etc. Such vidhi vakyani. The statements of commandment in terms of may one practice meditation, etc. are not found. Okay. The statement of commandment is not found in the 5th section. That is also another clue to say that it should be combined with the 6th section. See how small details are. Do you see them now? Every small detail is taken into account to discuss. That is why if you are asked to contemplate upon Brahma, finally, for us, for Brahma Jnanam, what should be your object of meditation? Not Brahma Jnanam. Okay? For Jnanam, Shravanam. For Brahma Jnanam, you are supposed to do Shravanam. After knowing Brahma, how nature of reality alone, you can dwell upon reality. How can you contemplate upon the nature of reality if you do not know what is the nature of reality? Is it clear? So contemplation must, what now? So Shravanam must precede Nididhyasanam. Because without knowing what reality is, how can you meditate upon reality? Without understanding who Bhagavan is, how can you meditate upon Bhagavan? Is it clear? See, if you want that particular assimilation of that jnanam, you already must know meditation is not for knowing the reality. Meditation is only for assimilating, ascertaining the reality. Isn't it? It's something different. I'm just bringing it here. It's not, don't mix it with that. Okay, anyway. So here, the reason is, what he wants, Shankaracharya makes it very clear. Oh my God, don't mistake, don't find fault with that Upanishadic teaching. Upanishad does not say unnecessarily, Upanishad does not repeat that. Okay, one who already knows Brahman, meditates upon Brahman, again he knows Brahman. It's not repetition, it is not a defect, it is not an error, because there's something more to be known by the meditator. The knowledge on the part of the meditator is not complete knowledge. When he reads 6th chapter alone, 6th section alone, he will have a complete understanding of Hiranyagarbha. Then, understanding this contents of 5th section and 6th section, when he practices the Vyahriti Upasanam along with this Upasanam, what is said in the 6th section, together form one complete Upasanam, and which will be effective. And there's no vidhi vakyam. May you upasita, upasva, yogya upasva, prachina yogya upasva. Such vidhi vakyam is not there in the 5th section. How many reasons he gave? And also another clue is what? Bhuhu iti agnav. Bhuhu, bhuvaha, suvaha, those vyahritis are again mentioned in the 6th section. It's another clue for us to know that the upasanams must be combined. Okay. So, he concludes, Vyahrityanuvake tayo veda iti tu vakshamanarthatvat na upasana bhedakaha vakshamanarthatvam cha tadvisesha vakshutvad ityadi na uktam ityadina uktam. Tadvisesha vakshutvad ityadina uktam. Okay. Listen to me carefully again. One more small thing let me tell you. Don't read now. Listen to me. See, there is a statement. One, yaha is a relative pronoun. Yaha Veda, one who practices this meditation, he knows Brahman. In that statement, is there a commandment? May you meditate, may one meditate is a statement of commandment. One who practices meditation knows Brahman is not a statement of commandment. That's what he clarifies here. Don't take that statement. That's only a statement of fact. If you practice, whoever practices, he knows Brahman. A statement of fact only. Especially statement of fact about the benefit of the practicing meditation. There is no commandment. Don't take it as a commandment. But commandment is found only in the 6th section. Sarve devaha asmai evam vidushe angabhutaha avahanti anayanti balim swarajya prapto satyam ityartaha. Therefore, what was said in the last section? Sarve esmai deva balimavahanti. That statement he is commenting upon here. So, Sarve devaha, all those anga devatas, when this meditator, as a result of practicing meditation, when he attains the Hiranyagarbha status, all those anga devatas bring oblations to him. This is the fact. And this is what is called attaining the Hiranyagarbha status also is relatively what? Relative lordship. Swarajya prapti means attainment of relatively lordship. Ishvara status. It's okay. So what does it mean now? We have both the contents of both sections reveal actually one meditation. The two are prescribed there, but they must be combined. Iti Panchama Anuvaka Bhashyam is complete. I thought of completing the next section also. Already 9:30. It's okay. Doesn't matter. Is it clear now? Do you all enjoy these classes? Find it boring? Okay. If you feel bored, doesn't matter, but I enjoy it. Because I really saw so much. One of the things is you must show some expression sometimes. We simply stare at me, I won't know whether you're listening or not listening or understanding. Some small words. Okay? I know you're all very good. But in case, for me to know, then I have a doubt. That's why. No, Shashtaha Anuvakaha, 6th section. Okay. So in this, our understanding of Hiranyagarbha must be better understanding. Why? In the previous section, how Hiranyagarbha is alone is said. But in this section, how Hiranyagarbha can be recognized as our own mind. So, invoking Hiranyagarbha upon an Avyakriti is a Bheda Upasanam. But when we invoke Hiranyagarbha as our own mind, it's Abheda Upasanam, Ahangraha Upasanam. That's also nice. Seeing Hiranyagarbha, invoking Hiranyagarbha upon Vyakritis is what? It's a Bheda Upasanam. You don't see Hiranyagarbha as yourself. Whereas, in Ahangraha Upasanam, when you invoke Hiranyagarbha upon your own mind, you see your own mind as Hiranyagarbha, then it's Abheda Upasanam. Is it clear? Which is, you should say yes or no, nod your heads. Okay. Abheda Upasanam. Abheda Upasanam is called Ahangraha Upasanam. Why Upanishad presents this Ahangraha Upasanam? Gradually, Upanishad wants us to, preparing us to see the essential oneness later on. Now, you have to, when you do the Virad Upasanam, when you practice Virad Upasanam, and you see your own physical body as Virat, at the gross level, okay, you see the oneness. When you see your own pranas as Hiranyagarbha, at the subtle level, you see oneness. You see your own mind as Hiranyagarbha, much subtler level, you see the oneness. You see your own intellect as Hiranyagarbha, you see the much subtler level oneness. And you see your own consciousness as yourself. You see the oneness at the absolutely subtlest level. Got it? Therefore, Upanishad, in order to prepare us to see the absolutely essential oneness, initially Upanishad helps us see the oneness at the subtle level. How do you see that? When the Upanishad presents, where is Hiranyagarbha available for recognition? Hiranyagarbha is available for recognition as your own prana, as your own mind, as your own intellect. What is your mind? What is your intellect? What is the knowledge manifest in your mind as? It's all Hiranyagarbha. Isn't it beautiful to know? I'm really happy to see this fact. It's such a beautiful fact. It's called seeing oneself being non-separate from Bhagavan, the whole, at the grossest level, subtler level, much subtler level, and finally the subtlest, absolutely subtlest level also. That's the conclusion. This is how individuality is cognitively resolvable in totality, Bhagavan. That is when you can say, I am not here. All that is there is Bhagavan. All that is there is only Brahma. This is the vision of the substract fact. And this here, it's all facts. Nothing is, everything what is said here is a fact. You see that? It is very important to appreciate this fact. That is why Upanishad here is going to say now, where is this Hiranyagarbha available for recognition? The entire subtle manifestation is Hiranyagarbha. All the pranas, all the manifest energy, wherever energy is manifest in the form of subtle functions, they're all Hiranyagarbha. So all the life forms, all the functions in all the living beings are Hiranyagarbha. All the pranas are Hiranyagarbha. And then all the minds are Hiranyagarbha. All the intellects are Hiranyagarbha. At three levels we see Hiranyagarbha. You see the subtle manifestation, three levels. At the prana level, mind level, intellect level. Is it clear? All three subtle forms, you see. Okay, when you simply say Hiranyagarbha alone is in the form of all these external worlds, because Virat survives because of Hiranyagarbha. You know, the gross universe survives because of the subtle manifestation. For example, your own physical body is alive because of the presence of subtle functions happening inside the physical body. Isn't it true? What lends life to your physical body? Your subtle body. Similarly, from there you have to extend. The gross universe here enjoys existence, is glorious because of the blessing of Hiranyagarbha, which means subtle manifestation. Is it clear? Now, the subtle manifestation also is glory, enjoys its existence because of the existence of unmanifest Ishvara, unmanifest power, powerful Lord. Unmanifest is also there because it's source of manifestation. And the source of manifestation is there because of what? Source of manifestation. You cannot go beyond that, isn't it? The gross manifestation is because of the existence of subtle manifestation. Subtle manifestation is because of the unmanifest, which alone becomes manifest. Unmanifest is there because of the source of manifestation. The source of manifestation is because of source of manifestation. Hope you got it. Got it? If you haven't got it, please tell me, then I can repeat it. I can elaborate on it and I can explain it.
Source of manifestation
Nirgunam Brahma. Of course, you must know that already. Correct. Is it clear? You can't go beyond that, isn't it? We go from there. And the source of manifestation alone is what? Pure knowledge. And everything else is what? Matter at different level, in different levels. Gross, subtle, subtler. But the matter, we do not call it as matter. The matter is looked upon as manifestation of knowledge. Therefore, by saying that, we resolve the matter in knowledge. We negate the matter in knowledge. Okay. This is all nothing to do with fifth, sixth Anuvākas, okay? I have just gone out to make certain things clearer. I just gone out to make certain things clear. See, when we see, okay, we have appreciation now. That's why in the first, why I'm repeating this, I want it to be very clear. In the fifth Anuvākaha, Upanishad presents this. See, this all basic lessons. I'm going back and just doing it. The fifth Anuvākaha, first Upanishad says, let us take the first meditation alone. Bhorityayam lokaha, bhuvarityantariksham, suvarityaso lokaha. Isn't it? So there, Mahayityaditye, Aditye Navava Sarve Loka Mahiyante. There, you see all these external worlds, perceptible gross universe. This world, the Swarga and intermediate space, all these worlds, including the Surya Bhagavan, okay, the Adityaha, all of them are Hiranyagarbha. Why? Hiranyagarbha is the source of existence for all these worlds. Minus Hiranyagarbha, these worlds cannot exist. Who is that who gives life for all this Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, all these worlds are seen as Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, we invoke them upon these four Vyahritis, which is a Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. Seeing Hiranyagarbha in the form of four worlds upon these Vyahritis is the Adhiloka Vyahrityatmaka Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. Isn't it? Again, what do we do? There, it is not, you are not only seeing in all of them as Hiranyagarbha, but you are who? You are the meditator. When you appreciate all these worlds being Hiranyagarbha is what? Meditation upon Hiranyagarbha, you are not included in the Hiranyagarbha. Is it clear? So you are the meditator. What is meditated upon is Hiranyagarbha. How you meditate? You see seeing everything being Hiranyagarbha is Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. You place your attention in appreciating this subtle fact of all the worlds being Hiranyagarbha is Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. You are the meditator, object of meditation is Hiranyagarbha in the form of worlds. This is a Bheda Upasanam. The Bheda Upasanam. Meditator, meditated, difference is there. I am the meditator. I appreciate this fact of Hiranyagarbha being all these worlds. What is my attention is focused on the worlds which are different from me, the meditator. It is a Bheda Upasanam, Saguna Brahma Upasanam. Saguna Brahma Vishya Manasa Vyaparaha. Similarly, next Upasanam. See all the Devatas. There few are mentioned. All these Devatas are Hiranyagarbha. So you see all these Devatas invoked upon these four Vyahritis are Hiranyagarbha. There also, you are the meditator, Hiranyagarbha in the form of Devatas becomes object of meditation. Again, Bheda Upasanam. The third Upasanam, again, you see, you are the meditator. You means, as you see yourself as a meditator, because we are all asked to meditate upon Hiranyagarbha. The meditator is different, and the meditator is asked to invoke Hiranyagarbha in the form of all the 4 Vedas and Omkaraha. Isn't it? Upon these 4 Vyahritis. Again what? Bheda Upasanam. Again last, Hiranyagarbha is in the form of pranas. Is it clear? Pranas. Again, okay, I see the pranas as Hiranyagarbha. Not as my, simply I see it as pranas. You see the functions, not as your pranas. There also what? Bheda Upasanam. If you see your own prana, oh, my own digestion is Hiranyagarbha, it is Abheda Upasanam. Simply, the function of all these physiological functions are Hiranyagarbha. Means what? It is Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. Appreciating the fact of Hiranyagarbha obtaining in the form of physiological functions is meditation. You are the meditator, but still it is Bheda Upasanam. Suppose, if you see, it is the Hiranyagarbha who alone is in the form of all physiological functions, is there in the form of my digestion, my respiration, my excretion, etc. Becomes what? Ahangraha Upasanam. It's a Abheda Upasanam, but at what level? Subtle level. At the absolute level. Ahangraha Upasanam. Now, when the Upanishad is going to teach you here, now see the Hiranyagarbha in the form of your own mind. All the listen to me carefully. If we say all the pranas are Hiranyagarbha, Sutratma, all the minds are Hiranyagarbha, Hiranyagarbha, all the intellects are Hiranyagarbha, Mahattattvam. Is it clear? They are Bheda Upasanam. But instead, you see Hiranyagarbha in the form of your own mind. I'm teaching something very nice, an important fact. You see your own mind. If all the minds are Hiranyagarbha, this my own mind is also what? Hiranyagarbha. And seeing my own mind as Hiranyagarbha means I appreciate Hiranyagarbha who alone in the form of all the minds is there as my own mind. My own mind becomes Alambanam for Hiranyagarbha. I see this as Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha, invoke Hiranyagarbha in my own mind means, my mind means I see Hiranyagarbha being non-separate from me. It's called Abheda Upasanam, Ahangraha Upasanam. This is, okay, the Upanishad says Hiranyagarbha is available for recognition, understanding in the form of your own mind in the heart. The space within the heart. So this Ahangraha Upasanam is actually, Upanishad is introducing gradually to take us to appreciate the essential oneness. It is oneness at the subtlest level. Subtler level now. Okay, oneness at the much subtler level. Subtlest level is what? Later, that is Brahmajnanam. It's a preparation. Ahangraha Upasanam will prepare us for Aham Brahmasmi Jnanam. It's a gradual preparation for Aham Brahmasmi Jnanam. So beautiful this is. Okay. Therefore, Anuvakaha, sixth Anuvakaha. This Upalabdhi Sthanam is not mentioned earlier. So the fifth section, there is a Bheda Upasanam is taught. The sixth section, Abheda Upasanam is taught. Therefore, the meditator is supposed to know more than what he knows in fifth section. Therefore, if at all the Upanishad says the person who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha knows Hiranyagarbha, if he says it is, Upanishad says it is not a defect, it is not an error. Come to the point now. I think definitely I have clarified your doubts. Saya esho ontarhridaya akashaha. Saya esho ontarhridaya akashaha. Tasmin ayam purusho manomayaha. Tasmin ayam purusho manomayaha. Amruto hiranmayaha. Amruto hiranmayaha. Antarena taluke. Antarena taluke. Ya eshastana iva valambate. Ya eshastana iva valambate. Se endrayonihi. Se endrayonihi. Yatrasau keshanto vivartate. Yatrasau keshanto vivartate. Vyapohya sirshakapale. Vyapohya sirshakapale. Bhurityagno pratitishthati. Yagnau pratitishthati. Bhuva iti vayo. Bhuva iti vayo. Suvarityaditye. Suvarityaditye. Maha iti brahmane. Maha iti brahmane. Apnoti swara ajyam. Apnoti swara ajyam. Apnoti manasaspatim. Apnoti manasaspatim. Vakpatischakshushpatihi. Vakpatischakshushpatihi. Shrotrapatirvijnanapatihi. Shrotrapatirvijnanapatihi. Yetattato bhavati. Etattato bhavati. Akashashariram brahma. Akashashariram brahma. Satyatma. Satyatma. Pranaramam mana anandam. Ramam mana anandam. Shanti samruddham amrutam. Shanti samruddham amrutam. Iti prachina yogyopasva. Iti prachina yogyopasva. So, he prachina yogya iti upasva. He prachina yogya upasva. The last sentence of this section. Upasva is a second person singular imperative verb. Do practice meditation. May you meditate. This is a statement of vidhihi, commandment. And vidhi vakyam is an indication for us to understand that both the upasams are to be combined and practice meditation. Now, this Prachina Yogi has complete understanding of Hiranyagarbha. How Hiranyagarbha is in the form of all those things, and how Hiranyagarbha is meditated upon, invoked upon the Mahaha, this Vyahritihi Mahaha, and who is the Angi, supporter of all the Anga Devatas. And that Hiranyagarbha is actually, should be meditated upon here, and now knowing where he is available for understanding. Upanishad says what? Consciousness, the reality implied the term Brahman is available for recognition as the essential nature of yourself, means as a truth of the mind. The truth of the mind, truth of the wave is water. Similarly, truth of the mind, truth of all the thoughts is consciousness. But now, Hiranyagarbha is available for recognition not as the truth of the mind, but as in the form of the mind. Got it? Hiranyagarbha is available in the form of manifest knowledge, which is the mind. Okay? Not as the truth of the mind. You must understand, when I say, oh, earlier we understood Yo Vedanihi Tanguhayam Parame Vyoman. Within the physical heart there is space. Within the space there is Indriyam called mind. Indriyam is always imperceptible, subtle. And in that Indriyam, mind Indriyam, there is manifestation of knowledge in terms of knowledge of the existence of the self, existence of the world, I am, okay? And that manifestation of knowledge is Hiranyagarbha, Antahkaranam. Mind is Hiranyagarbha. Where is mind available? Mind is the Indriyam. Where is your seeing power? Where is your seeing power? Because of which you are able to see. Seeing power is available for recognition in the Golakam called, isn't it? This is Golakam. Your hearing power is available not on the nose or the head, it's available for in the ears. Every Indriyam has its own locus where it is available. How do you know? How do I know the hearing power is available for recognition in the ears? Block your nose and ask somebody to talk to you. Block your nose. Block your ears. First close your ears. Ask somebody to talk. Oh, I can hear. It means not, hearing power is not here. Then block your ears. Still you can hear. Then block your ears. Ask somebody to talk. Then you make out where hearing power is. Is it clear now? So hearing power is the Indriyam for which Golakam is ear, is the Golakam. Similarly, this manifestation of knowledge, the manifest knowledge also is Indriyam. The power. Manifest knowledge is the power. And the manifesting medium is what? The mind. Isn't it? So we take the mind, the conscious mind, which is manifestation of knowledge, is a Indriyam, because of which the external world is known. Knowledge of any object has to happen only in the mind, isn't it? It's true or not? See, what the whole world is seen in the mind like a screen, you know that? You think the world is outside? Actually, whatever you are seeing outside, as though outside, is actually you are seeing only in your own mind. This is the fact. This is the fact. I won't teach you Dakshinamurti Stotram. I should teach you that. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam. I just fell flat for that Stotram. And I heard first. That's the first one I heard from Swamiji when I was very young. Now, what I'm saying, the whole Jagat is shining in your own mind. It's a fact. I'm just going out of the track, okay? Come back and start the fresh class in the afternoon. Why I'm saying, it means this mind is an Indriyam. I want to understand. Mind, this mind is subtle Sukshma Dravyam called mind, where the function of meditation in the form of rising and resolution of thoughts happen. That mind is an Indriyam, and for which Golakam is the physical heart. Mind is very subtle, imperceptibly, inconceivably, mind itself is subtle. Okay, you understand the mind in terms of manifestation of knowledge. If you know you are, mind is there. If you know the world is, mind is functional. When you do not know you do not know the mind, world is, that means mind is non-functional. Okay, you understand the mind in terms of its being functional and non-functional. Is it clear? How do you understand mind? We understand the mind in terms of its being functional, it being non-functional. In terms of the presence and absence of manifestation. So mind is an indriyam obtaining in the golakam, the physical part called heart, which psychologists may not accept. They are holding on to brain. Brain has to function with the help of the mind. Brain is a physical part, I told you in the class already, which will be reduced to ashes when the body is cremated. Whereas mind will escape. Mind cannot be burnt. In fact, mind leaves the physical body and goes away. Bye, saying, then the body is sent for a cremation. Mind escapes. Mind cannot be killed. Is it clear? Mind is indriyam. So, Upanishad says, the physical heart is the golakam. If we suppose, imagine, if you do the dissection, okay? Dissection of the heart. And we study, of course, unless you're doctors, you wouldn't have seen. Otherwise, you would have studied in biology class. There's auricles and ventricles. Even a basic understanding of heart you must have. There's a space in between where the bad blood goes and gets cleansed, and again clean blood is pumped from there. There is a space within the heart, small space. Hridaya akashaha. And in that space alone you can see through physical life, and if dissection is done, you cannot find the mind there. Mind is imperceptibly subtle. And the Shastram says there is mind, which can be understood only in terms of its being functional and non-functional. And the mind's function and non-function also can be understood. Function of mentation can be understood only in terms of the presence and absence of manifestation of knowledge. Okay? Therefore, that mind is Hiranyagarbha. How wave is ocean, every mind is Hiranyagarbha. Okay? And this mind, my own mind, is Hiranyagarbha. Where is Hiranyagarbha? Do you have to go and search for him? Your mind is Hiranyagarbha. This is called what? Abheda Upasanam. At the subtle level. Ahangraha Upasanam. Is it clear? We will come back and start the 6th section. If any of you think we already understood, very good. Still I'll come repeat in the afternoon. I'm really very happy with what I'm doing, because I see I'm making it very clear. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. The whole class is meditation only. You are repeatedly you are seeing all about Bhagavan. This is meditation. You are meditative in the class. Thank you for that.